Blog Talk Radio.
Started to call you last night, but I think doing this face to face will only make it better, you know. You see, last night was beautiful. Everything lined up just right. And I've been thinking about you, you know, maybe this thing could be right. Before we get any further, I just want us to take our time and really think things so we're like, is this what we really want, you know? Because I know what I want. And it's you, baby. Yeah, it's you. Let's enjoy this and chill together. Let's not lose the flow. Take things slow, you know? Because I want to give you everything that I have. So what do you say?
Welcome, 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 women of God and sisters of Testimonies. I am your host, Miss Tonya E., also known as Miss Right Now, that grown woman doing grown things, sprinkled with a little season. Why? By the way of experience, which has gained some wisdom. How y'all doing this evening? What is going on, family? Before I get into it, I want to make sure we set the right mood for this Monday evening. What day are we on? June 15th, 2020, and we're on the Eastern Standard Time, so we're looking a little bit after 6 p.m. That's the first time I was giving you all time, but yes, you know, there's always something new when we jump on here at different hours, so you never know what you're going to get. But before we get into it, family, I want to thank you so much if you're listening live or if you're listening to the archive show. We thank you always for your time, and please know it's never taken for granted. It's never taken for granted. We love each and every one of you on this side and appreciate you for your presence, okay? So let's get into it, family. Listen, that first song, okay, wait a minute, how I'm going to do this, because we're going to take our time today. Our reoccurring special feature guest came on here in June? I think 5 months ago, or was it? No, 6 months ago. It's been that long. But in the midst of, from December, since we first spoken here, into now, he has been very busy, very, very busy, working on his album, his project, which we are here to talk about today, the first single, as well as talk and break bread with him in regards to how COVID-19 has affected him in the sense of being an essential worker as well as a musician, where we all know everything has been shut down and we have been basically quarantined outside of what we wanted to be basically forced, but you already know I've been quarantined before being quarantined, so we're not going to talk about that. But I don't want to waste any more time, family, so let's bring on our special feature guest so we can break bread and hear what is going on with him now, and also congratulate him and commend him for being part of the essential workers in the midst of us being quarantined and fighting this COVID-19. So without further ado, family, I would like to reintroduce you all to our special featured guest, the jazz pianist, Chan Hall. Are you there, brother?
Yes. Thank you, Tonya. I appreciate that intro. Appreciate it.
Man, I didn't know if I was going to do cartwheels on that long. I said, oh, Lord, you know I could be long-winded sometimes. But thank you for being here. Thank you for granting us your time once again. And I'm going to hush up and you reintroduce yourself so that we can break this bread at this 6 o'clock hour on this June 15th, 2020.
Most definitely. I am Chan Hall, and I'm a smooth jazz artist, recording artist, pianist, father, mentor, you name it, man. Just a guy of inspiration. I'm always trying to encourage the people that's around me, and just like to make feel good music for everybody, especially in these times of COVID-19 and all of the rioting and all the other social barriers that's been broken in today's time.
Yes. Now, Chan, what I forgot to mention, being that you are the artist, that this is your babies, tell our listeners what were the two selections that we played before bringing you on.
Okay, that first tune was called Electrified, and that was from my Enchantment album, which was my third album. And that was one of my favorites off of the record. So I was glad you chose that one. And then we had it's an interlude called "It's You" I developed the track, but I have an old friend of mine from the first album to come on the third album named Rodney Stitt, and he came in, and I had an idea for him. I felt like it was going to fit him well, and I think it fit him very well. But it was part of basically, it was like even though it was two interludes mirroring one another, it's another interlude as well called "It's You" Part 2. But basically, it would be if it was a man, his thoughts.
I ain't asked you to say all of that, and you don't know what's going on over here, okay? I asked you about them too.
Okay.
Like, are you not hearing what I just asked? Just listen to. Don't spoil it yet. We got it hooked up over here. You do what you say. What you say? The first two.
Gotcha.
Okay. You were saying before I had
that was pretty much. I don't. Well, the rest of what I was gonna say was gonna spoil it. So that wraps
Oh
it
yeah,
up.
right. The spoiler alert. Okay, right. Okay,
right.
You're right. So now you're right. So he said about Electrified and Issue Part 1. And that's also Rodney Stitt is the one that we heard from our first introduction with you. And what was the name of that track again?
Loving You.
Loving You, right? Because I said he reminds me of Sam Cooke and David Ruffin, right on. Yeah. So again, much shout outs to Rodney once again. So let's get into it now. So now we're talking about COVID-19 that first was announced over in Japan and China, and now it made its way over here to the United States of America, Chan. And, a few minutes ago in regards to us having to be quarantined is something that I don't believe I have ever in my season years had to endure as far as in our time. So how has that affected you as a essential worker? Because, like I said, many of us may not have seen or endured what you have. If you don't mind to share with us what your experience has been since we have been shut down and quarantined.
Wow. Yeah. Man, it's been interesting. And you're right. The stuff coming in from China. And with it, it came in like a fresh wind. Just come in and just take over a lot of situations. As an essential worker, what I do, outside of music, I am a truck driver. So what I do is I actually deliver medical supplies to hospitals, surgical gear for elective surgeries and et cetera. I remember when I first discovered that my particular hospital that I had in my branch, well, first of all, I had the biggest hospital in my branch out of Richmond, and it's up in the D.C. area. So once they came in, they had like the first 5 cases of our state back in March. And, of course, that was very alarming after hearing situations like, watching the news every day. Then you see, like, the NBA is like, hey, we're gonna back off, and we're going to leave millions of dollars on the table because we don't know where this goes. And you're seeing all these big corporations just immediately just folding. You're like, whoa, this is something real. I first heard of a case, one guy that was doing hospital beds was like, hey, man, we have like one. He said he had a rumor alert that one of the patients may be in the hospital he was in, which would have been the very first case. It came out that it was very true. In about 2 days, I found out that one turned into 5. I was like, oh, wow. Oh. So kind of changed the ball game. And of course, traveling back to Richmond, he hadn't traveled that far yet, alerting my company. They were like, hey, they kind of, nonchalant to the situation because they hadn't reached that area. So I'm like, the only one in the warehouse, like, hey, man, look, I need PPE to go in there. And and whatnot, because it's the cases in there. I don't feel comfortable, And the company, long story short, the company was like, well, the CDC hasn't came out and said anything yet. So they're looking for CDC step by step. But I'm way ahead of CDC. So I told my mother about it, and we had a conversation. And about 2 or 3 days later, she made me like a mask and got me like some booties for my feet. She was like, hey, well, try this on, just to keep, something on versus nothing going in the hospital. You have to, it's a conscious thing, and that was a thing for most of my coworkers at my particular plant, even though we were 2 hours away from D.C. and they hadn't spread it down, they hadn't heard the cases. But for me, going in the hospital knowingly, if there's people in here with COVID-19 and you're looking on the news in New York City and it's killing people by the boatloads, you're like, man, this is killer virus and they don't know nothing about it. So, it's very nerve-wracking. It's like, man, it's to the point like I don't even want to make these deliveries right now, in a sense. For number one, once again, the doctors at that particular time, they couldn't even get the PPE themselves because there were just a lot of issues with the government not getting the stuff out on time. So eventually time caught up where it spread it all the way through, and the company eventually slowly gave us PPE based upon CDC's directions. But once again, my mother was like, no, we're just not having that. I want you to be safe out there. So she started developing like face shields and just, taking it a step further, researching and digging in for PPE for me. Whereas the company failed and lacked, she would pick that up. And then going into the hospitals and delivering, our loads were changing. So immediately they stopped emergency surgeries. And they went straight just like, we went from, I went from a truckload of 25 pallets down to 10 at most nights because all they were getting was face shields, face masks, sanitizer, situations to combat the COVID-19, which affects the company because the company makes their money off of the surgeries. They want to see heart surgeries and back surgeries. They make big dollar off of that stuff. But then you're looking at stuff that just only clean and protect. The hospitals and the companies are like struggling. So, they're looking at, it's like a double negative. Even though the government gave the company a little money for the crisis, or critical pay or hazard pay, however they want to term it, they give you a little bit, but at the same time, the company's hurting so bad, they're looking at possible layoffs. So it's like a double negative. It's like, okay, we're the guys that, we got to go in and give the doctors what they need to, to fight the COVID-19. And we were told and authorized that we could not take off. It was like, you got to go because you guys have what the doctors need right now. Like the doctors depending on you guys and those people that's in their hospital depending on these doctors, and they need these supplies. So we had to, whether we liked it or not, we had to go in there and make sure that these people got that equipment. And like I said, and at the same time, man, some people get to work from home. They don't. Once again, you're talking about going to the hospital. You're going to the actual battleground. Like, people with the COVID are coming here, so people are coming in. It's not like you go in a grocery store. Consciously, okay, hey, there's probably could be somebody in here, but you really don't know. When you go to the hospital setting, you're like, these people are going to have COVID. And then you hear these numbers keep going up. And they're not, like, telling you the numbers, so you kind of got to, like, find out through the grapevine, like, oh, you heard this 100 in here now? And it's spreading quickly, like, wow, man. It jumped to, like, 2 and 3 and 4. It was like, whoa, it's 400 people here with COVID? It's like, and the thing you can do is just pray, man. Like, look, I prayed a lot of nights. I was like, man, please don't let me get this COVID-19 because, you just don't know. I mean, people are just leaving. I mean, just dying. Well-known people that I know that's in all places. I've been hearing stories of people dying and, how real it is. And then you get to hospitals where they've got tractor trailers. The trailer part is refrigerated and they're throwing dead bodies in there. And you're like, wow, man, it's real. And people, once again, they haven't seen it the way that I saw it. So my job was like, okay, let me just kind of help push the narrative as the news is doing. So I use my platform, my social media, to kind of educate people like, hey, man, it is real out here. It's not like it's a game. I get that you don't see it. You know, you might not see it handed like front line, and you just seen it from the news, so you have all these questions because they don't know. So you think like, well, are they talking right? Or is this just some hoax? Or why the news? You know, you got a lot of conspiracy theories that's floating because the truth hasn't been cleared. So my job was, I felt like for me, I was like, well, let me go in here, use my platform for the people that's connected to me. Let me show you how real it is. So I couldn't get close up on situations because it's a hospital, HIPAA. I don't want to get involved with that stuff. But what I could show people, I showed and I explained. I was like, hey, there's some stuff over here that you don't want to see. I can't go in depth, but hey, I can tell you what's in there. You know, there's some full of dead bodies in here. And then, I suited up, showed people how I put on my face shield and mask going in, and my booties and stuff going in, because I'm like, it's serious, man. I got to go in here. And they don't know. They didn't know none of this stuff at the time. They had no data. And it was just like, are you serious? You guys had no data on this at all? Like, China had this for months now, and you telling me you guys didn't send over, infectious disease scientists over there to figure out, or virology scientists to find out what's going on. So they were just step by step. They didn't know, if you breathe it here, you die. You do this, it's like, oh, wow. Like, it's scary. It's like, oh, my God. So you're telling me certain masks don't work and, all kind of stuff. And it's just like, man, well, it's like you got to do something. So, some things I had to limit. I had to kind of put my foot down, like, hey, I can't go. I'm not going past this point in the hospital because it's just I don't have the proper protection that the doctors are even getting. And they barely getting it. They're told to reuse N95 masks. At the time, currently, and still currently, only 3 of the masks work anyway. The N95, the surgical mask, and the FFP1 are the only 3 that really kind of blocks out the particles for the disease or the this COVID-19. So yeah, it's I had to supply the medical staff, and it was very important. We had to have a paperwork printed out saying that in case of a shutdown or curfew, that we cannot be stopped. I had to show that in my card. Say, hey, look, I am a essential worker, for medical supply companies. So once they saw that, they'd be all right, cool, back off, because you the dude that we need out here, push the stuff out here. But being that we had to be front line, be out here still, and everybody hunkered down. We was definitely it's you feel like a soldier in a war. You definitely felt that way.
Well, you definitely was and continue to be the soldier in the front line. And again, I commend you, and I know I'm not the only one that want to say thank you for being on the front line and not being there, because your presence still helped those that you could not even see. And I'm glad you said everything that you said, because a lot of people do not believe in it. And I mentioned a couple of months ago in a couple of my shows that I believe I had it in December. I don't know if you've seen my post, but you cannot tell me I didn't have it in December into January. I have never been sick like that ever in my life. So wow. It's real. It's real. It's real. It's real. So thank you again for sharing with us. And I wanted to ask you, too, by you going through that experience, has it affected you any type of way mentally? And if so, what would you say to those, because we had the nurses, we had the doctors, the hospital officials, everyone that has been on the front line, and this is one of the things I said in the other show as well, is that we have to remember our mental is being attacked too. So if you're feeling like with anxiety rising, depression rising, which you never even felt like, you even know what the triggers were, depression, to seek help in regards to talking to someone. What would you say to everyone that are literally still on the front line, because you are just still on the front line as well, that have been mentally affected by it, if it has affected you mentally, or what steps or advice would you give them? How did you overcome so that it did not succumb you in the sense of what you've seen?
Yeah, man, that's a loaded question. That's a good question, though. I would tell them, man, that because it does. I can't say that it does not affect you mentally. It does. It definitely affects you mentally. It affects you in so many ways you just don't. Maybe you don't realize. But I found myself that I've argued with people over situations about information over the COVID. You argue with people that maybe they take stuff careless, because everybody's at different levels and places about this situation. I've had many conversations, and it's just like, some people think it's nothing. But I would tell people that's going mentally, because there's a mental part about it, that you don't want to bring it back to your families, that you that maybe that you're gonna, a cough could be COVID, or it might just be a cough, and it's kind of, it's nerve-wracking, because the underlying issues are so mirroring to regular symptoms of a cold. It's like, how do you know one between the other? And you hear these stories.
And allergies too. And allergies.
Right.
That's
allergies.
right.
So you're looking at a broad outline that you're going to have to look at, and then you're told in our community of African Americans that we're targeted even more because of other health issues that could be inviting the virus a lot more, because of those issues are weakening the immune system, like diabetes and high blood pressure. So, then you're looking at age doesn't play a factor. You're looking at all of these situations that are coming out, and it does have a mental. It's like you kind of in a depressed state, because you don't know if you're going to get this or not. You don't know. You leave it into a place where you just, into a space where you just don't know. And I would tell people, man, I would definitely, seek out, if you can seek out to anybody just to talk about it and help you with it, or counseling, or, talk to your pastors or anybody in the church to build up your encouragement. I know one thing for me, we had services online, so watching services online build up I was looking forward to those online services to build up my confidence, just because I had to go out week by week, man, and you don't know what's going to happen down the road with the stuff with this virus spreading like it is. So I had to find some inspiration and some strength from somewhere. Otherwise, I'd be too scared to even leave the house. It was once again, knowingly that I had to go to the hospital where this stuff is at. It's prevalent. So I don't want to bring this back to family. I got family that could be targeted, and I would be devastated if I felt like they got COVID because of me, and something would happen to them that would be beyond my control. And prayer is definitely essential, praying every day, and just finding some way to find some encouragement. I definitely would say talk to someone, like not just deal it. A lot of people, we all in this day and time, we often feel that we don't have an outlet of people that we can't talk to, so we keep all that on the inside, and we kind of die with that on the inside of us instead of just getting it out. So I definitely would tell doctors, anybody, to because they were depressed too, man, because it was like a losing battle. I mean, you got to understand it from their point of view. Their job is to save lives, and when they was losing a lot of lives, that's very discouraging. That's like it's like a battle. You got to understand, like, they care about your life, so they're like, whenever they lose a life, they're not like, hey, another one gone, they're like that. They're like, man, we can't stand that. We don't have what we need to really just save people's lives. Like, we keep losing lives, and we don't want to lose them. Like, that don't look good on our hands that we can't do anything about it. I mean, at that time, it was God in control. I mean, they had no control. All this time, they felt more like they had the control, but God had to let God. A lot of them had to find God at this point and say, God's going to have to step in and intervene, because medical science has, not advanced fast enough to figure out this particular virus and disease. So telling them that they've done a great job, continue to boost their spirits to go out there and feel like it's worth fighting every day to save what you can save. And the ones who pass away, just to accept that it's nothing you're going to be able to do, you know. So talking to somebody is very essential, very essential.
Well, amen to that. And again, salute to each and every one that they tried to save. Like you said, God was in the I still stand, God is in the midst of it all. And we cannot control something we cannot see. And for me, I stick to the word. Everything is happening in the season of the scriptures. So, but we still have to stay prayed up. And I always say, I don't care what God, how you call God, but please find a relationship with him, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to keep our sanity. Even if we come down a little bit, we slip and trip and fall, but let's get ourselves back up, because we're not the only one dealing with this. Just the perspective on how we're dealing with it, that we will allow it to affect us. We're humans with emotions. So,
amen to that. Yeah, we definitely have that.
Chan Hall, our brother, our King Chan Hall. Let's pick up the pace. And we're going to pick up the pace by taking a little break. You go get you some, well, I don't know, you got some Kool-Aid over there. You got your glass of wine. You are the jazz man that put us in this mood. So what we're going to do is, I'm sipping on my little water that turned to wine. It's what, 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. in China. I always go 12 hours to China. But anyway, we're going to take a little break. And family, you're about to be introduced to our special feature guest, new single, with a little touch of something else that's going to come after that. And when that is all done, we are going to return to break bread with Chan to find out what's this love like this is all about. Okay? So, family, hold on tight. Chan, hold on tight. Go get you some water and some wine. Some of you drinking on the side. And we will be right back, family.
you've been on my mind since we left each other last night. I just can't stop thinking about you. I didn't want to move too fast, be too hasty, so I didn't have to call, but everything just feels so right. We're so connected already. It's unreal. It's like all the things I've asked for you really seem to be. So I want to take my time. I want to take my time getting to know your mind, letting you know mine. I want to know how you really feel. Cause my heart just can't keep still. And I know you feel it too. So let me know what you want to do.
Yes, family. Yes, I'm going to let our special feature guest introduce his music because this is his project. So I'm just going to say my part, and then I'm going to pass the mic over to Chan. How about that, family? So, Chan.
Yes.
What you doing over there, man? What happened? Where's the long pause? Were you not listening? What's going on? What are you doing? You drinking or you snacking? What are you doing over there? Are you doing cartwheels? That's an inside joke.
Yeah, doing a cartwheel, right.
Emojis are a beautiful thing, especially at this season. Okay. Chan, introduce everyone to what we just heard as being your new from your new project that we are patiently waiting for, and then the second track that the spoiler alert. Go ahead on now. You can say it. Go ahead.
Okay, the first track was my new single called "Love Like This," featuring the saxophonist that you heard was Marcus Anderson, which I explained to you back in June about, he would be coming on and doing a track with me and, helping me out. And we were looking to collab, two brothers just trying to collab, and, my big brother pulling me up in the game. And it's been out for, for a month or two. I did a radio campaign and putting it out there, and it's got some good attraction to it so far with Billboard, smoothjazz.com charts and stuff like that. So we've gained a lot of traction in the short amount of time that we've put the single out. So I'm very pleased and happy with the direction that it's going. And then the second song was called "It's You Part 2." And that's from the Enchantment album as well. So.
And what's the queen name that was featured on that one?
Her name was Shanta Jasper.
Okay, so we want to make sure we give her a shout out because that's how we do over here. And I mentioned to you, I had the pleasure of seeing Marcus Anderson perform in Charlotte several years ago under, many know her as the jazz diva in Charlotte, Tammy Green. And I was able to add his greatness into my musical library. So it goes to show you how the world is small. 360, 360, 360 was the 6 degrees of separation. So salute to you all on this project, and we hope that it reaches every jazz station and beyond. It's a very, very nice tune, and just, again, nice drive, nice sipping some water, turn to wine. A nice track to do some writing, So tell us, how did you go about with this song, and then tell us a little bit about the project with this song that's coming along, and when can we look out?
Okay. this song here, so I needed some fire on a fire track, and I had an idea, and also I needed some help from some guys who's in the game, So I have two gentlemen right now. Marcus is that one, and another colleague of mine, another friend of mine named Tony Craddock Jr. He's out there in the game, and he's been a really good resource for me, and I thank God for the brother, just to be able to converse with him, just to have somebody that can not feel like we in competition, but to feel like you're my brother and I don't mind helping you. No, I'm not gonna do it for you, but I don't mind helping you. And sometimes we just need that, yo. I'm gonna change the narrative for a second, because I feel like in my spirit I need to talk about that. And as brothers and sisters, man, like in all walks, not just in the music life. It happens in the music life a lot, but we get to this point, man, where like you're a radio host, and you get to a point that you're so competitive that you can't help out a fellow host. Like maybe help them out on their start, because we have this ideology like, hey, man, you may do better than me, or hey, I don't need to tell you nothing because nobody never tells me nothing. And we get to this point where we don't share information because we're selfish, and we don't really cultivate our people like we should. And I look at black business. I would love to support black businesses, but sometimes it's the etiquette of the business situation it fails. And
say that again.
We end up, the etiquette of the business often fails. Like how we're supposed to do business ends up failing, and we end up taking our dollars elsewhere. Our trillions of dollars go elsewhere, except for where it should be coming into. So as a fellow musician, for a lot of musicians, it's like a problem to support another musician. Like I'm like, dude, like it's okay to support, man. Dude, just because you don't play on or you haven't played on my stuff doesn't mean that you can't help support and push the whole movement. But nonetheless, I really want to shout out my brother Tony Craddock Jr., man, for really giving me some really great advice and a lot of good insight on things that I had never looked at going into radio. It's a different animal. I had no clue that it was really like that. I just didn't know. I really thought I was in this dreamland, like hey, it's just gonna all magically happen. And it's like, no, it's just not gonna magically happen. It's a process that's gotta happen. It's like, wow, and it's a frustrating one because you're just like, why won't they just let stuff be like what it's supposed to be? Why has it got to be cut and shaped in this format? But so nonetheless, I studied and looked at things a little different, a little harder than the way I had been, and the track is doing great. But I did know I was going to need some, as an introduction, I was going to need somebody big enough to say, hey, I need a big brother to say, hey, look, here's my brother Chan here. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's an old tactic I thought about way back in the day, how Digital Underground brought in Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's like rap, but Digital Underground came out, and then you would see Tupac in the videos. Like, who's this other brother in the video? And then he finally came out, got a single. It kind of brought him, gave him that support to say, hey, you can ride the wave and create your own artistry, your own career.
Well, you're right on every level of what you stated, and I think I mentioned to you before, I'm from the music industry, so I know it's not just the music, but it's also corporate. It's just like daily life. The industry is so disgusting. That's why I got dust in the middle of it. Then I break it down. Just keep trying, because what you don't want to do is lose your soul or sell your soul in the process of your gifts, God talent gifts. We have them. Okay, we about to go off topic. Ooh. Okay. So first I want to say too, before I forget, We want to thank Marcus as well, because that's definitely helped when you already have a friend or someone, a comrade that's already in the business, basically that's saying it's all about who you know, not what you know. That's able to give you that introduction to break bread with you, so that others basically giving you the approval to walk through the door, opposed to you having that talent. You're saying, hey, this is what I can do. I actually did internship in 1989 for Mercury Records in the, what we would call it, the urban, I think they're changing the name now, department in rap. And that's where I was able to see how they do packages back in the days, you know, where if you wasn't represented by an attorney or someone that said, listen to my people's demo, you weren't getting played. It was going in a bin. Even if you had you was the most talented. Everything is by design. So your bubble getting popped needed to get popped so that you can see the real reality of it, opposed to all the trickeries of the imageries and you know, the fake smiles, to where they're like, yeah, Chan, I'm going to do this, but make sure the price tag on that is not you compromising your worth. Boof. Now, we going back over here.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how did you come? Because we named the show Love Like This as our yesterdays or our todays. And the reason why we labeled it as such is because of everything we're going through. Before we go into that, tell us, how did you come up with the title? Because, you know, we have to know what the title in the midst of the song. And then tell us about when can we expect, let me get my I's and E's right, expect the album.
All right, let's start with the name. Let's break this down. All right, so, you know, well, first of all, let me start off and say this. I think, you know, it's funny. What I've noticed, I've had a couple situations where I had to speak out on, you know, interviews and things that matter. And what I have noticed is people are very into what the names are, very oriented in what the names are. And I didn't have a clue. Sometimes I just name a name because I need a name. I might think of something quick, and then sometimes I'll have that name already ready. Just a little background story. But the Love Like This, the reason why I got that name, I was in a studio one time, this one particular studio, man. And this cat, I knew, he said something really real to me. He probably didn't even know he was dropping a nugget. He was just talking. And I consider him as a good mentor. He plays keyboard as well, and he does a lot of engineering. And this cat was one day he said this. He had this conversation with me. He said, "Man, I'm just now getting back to a place from where I can love this again." And that was shocking to hear, because I'm like, the brother plays everywhere. He plays way more than me. He plays backup. He used to play backup for Gerald Levert back in the day, you know, and you know, he's played on a lot of different platforms. He's very talented keyboardist, you know, and for him to say something like, "Yeah, man, I'm just finding it now that I'm actually getting to love this again." I'm like, I kind of understood what he was saying, because sometimes, man, we get caught up in a lot of different stuff, and we get pulled in so many directions because of your gift. And sometimes it can feel like, you know, show after show, gig after gig, night after night. It becomes stale. You kind of lose touch with it. It's just like, all right, this is routine. All right, let's suit up again. It's a gig till tomorrow night or here, you know, and it, you know, keeps you very busy. And you get to a point where it's just like the next thing, and you don't really feel like that little kid at heart no more when you first got into it, you know? So you don't have that love when you first come in, like, yeah, this is the reason why I got into this. You know what I'm saying? So when I named the track Love Like This, the way it speaks to me is the love for music again. I'm rekindling that love again. And for a while, I kind of lost that love. I kind of lost it. I didn't know if this was even going to happen. I didn't know the direction. I wanted to push music. Was my music ever going to have a major campaign on the radio, that one day I could see my name on SiriusXM or Music Choice, or, and not getting information from colleagues out in the street that I know of that won't give you information. And you got, I have my own band, so my bandmates are looking at me. Every time I tell them, all right, it's going to come soon, and then it doesn't happen, they kind of lose, respect for you, because time is going by, and it's like, well, we keep hearing the same thing. And it becomes depressing, because you're trying to keep everybody in your dream that you visioned so hard for and you fought for so hard. And it just seemed like it ain't going to happen. And it's just like, you have faith so long, for years. And everybody's like, well, you got to keep the faith. But what happens when it's so many years and you keep getting beat up and knocked down? It starts tearing your walls of faith down, eventually. And it's like, it starts to be discouraging. It starts to tear away. It makes you resent and be angry, because it's like, well, God, why this ain't happening for me yet? You start to question God. You're not supposed to do that. It's like, well, God, if I saw it in my dream, if I seen this vision you gave me, then why is it not happening? I'm doing all I can do. I'm pushing on it. What is it that I'm missing? Even in your quiet moments. And so that track just kind of brings back that feeling I had it when I first got my software to record from home. I was so excited. So I was like, well, I'll be able to do things from the house now and not have to go to the studio. That would free up a lot of situations, and I can record as I want freely. So when I'm thinking of this track, I'm like, all right, I mean, what track would be kind of good for the radio? And I get to play around, and then I'm thinking of orchestrating it out. And while I'm orchestrating the track, I'm so pulled in again. I'm feeling that love again, like that rekindling of this love that I lost for a minute. The mental space to even think about pushing anything else any further. I'm like, I'm starting to find that again. It's starting to become exciting for me again. I'm starting to get that child at heart, that belly, that butterfly belly feeling of making music again, the chills, like, oh man, this is dope, and that's where the name Love Like This came from. It basically is, finding love again for music, because you can get lost in it. You can get lost. I'm sure you understand it better than anybody.
I do.
Being in radio, that you can get lost in it, man. It can be so much stuff that it's overwhelming. You just like, you know what? I can't do this. I need to take a break. I got to step back for a moment and re-examine the situation again, so that I can get back to a better path with more direction and know where I'm going with the situation.
That's right. Well, you must, and as you were speaking, the words came to mind. You must remember why you started.
Mm-hmm.
You are part of the medicine that people need when they have nowhere else to go. It's not about you looking for who's going to support you, because I have to go biblical. It is what it is, because it is in the Bible. God always tells us you're not going to get the support in your native land. You'll always get support outside. And we speak about the crabs in the barrel. And from being, like I said, for me actually being in the music industry starting in 86, I don't know if I have mentioned this to you, but my introduction was my chorus teacher, Dennis Bell. Mad love for him, always called him Vanilla Daddy, because he's white, but his beautiful wife, Claudine Washington, sister, they awesome. He was Dougie Fresh old manager. And when Salt and Pepper came out with the Showstopper, when Dougie and Slick Rick came out with the show, and Salt and Pepper came out with the Showstopper, it was myself and two of my other classmates that were supposed to go against Salt and Pepper. That didn't happen. One day I came into the classroom and started banging on Dennis' desk. He had a keyboard. The chorus room had a keyboard, and I'm banging on the desk. He goes to the keyboard, and lo and behold, that I did not even know that he ended up putting my drum beat idea on one of the other groups he had called Mickey Dina's Drew Crew. And the song was called Barnyard Beat. So in 1986, the summer, he calls me, it was like Ellington. It was called my list. I don't like telling people my last name, but it is what it is. Ellington, like Duke, right? I don't know what part of the tree or branch I'm on, but it is what it is, right? So I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even think anything of it because I am my forte is dancing. Dancing I've been a dancer since I think conception because my mom used to dance back in the days, but she didn't take it to the level that I went. So my forte has always been dance, but always around music, you know. But I say that to say, in the journey of the industry that I have had to walk as a woman, as a straight woman, as a woman that fought for hers, not laying on my back to form the letter V. I always say this, form the letter V to get what I want. I wasn't ladylike in many ways because I was not allowing no one to make me do anything that I did not want to do. So even though I was always in the know, I choose very carefully on which steps I took. And a lot of times being a truth teller and you tell them like it is, I ain't give a rat's tail. You're going to know you're going to respect me. You don't have to like me. So that's going back to your journey as you are, you know, still somewhat of a baby in it, that you need to be fed by the proper people. You just continue to know your purpose and why you are doing what you are doing. Because everybody have a different season. And even what we're going through right now, COVID-19 has proven no one is better than the next. You on the front line, while you have others that become internet influencers or whatever they call these public figures today. It's kind of disgusting to me, but to each his own. They are worse off than you. We have to remember who we putting on a pedestal. But at the end of the day, don't put anyone on the pedestal because we all are human with talent. We celebrate each other. And we are supposed to. It would be helpful to help one another, but everyone doesn't have that mentality. You have a lot of people that are very selfish, like you mentioned earlier, that is only about them. Person that you know can't be part of your team, that you have to recognize who they are and accept who they are and go go to the right and lead them left, you know? So the album is coming and like you said, Love Like This, again, basically rekindling the love relationship that you have with your music, as well as everyone having whatever it is they feel like they lost in. But love comes from within first. I have to say that. You know I'm seasoned. So it's like, 'cause I got a little experience. I done been through some stuff. So you got to first love you.
Yeah,
so that
true
you can
indeed.
prosper, you know? But keep God first in everything, Brother Chan, please. And I said salute to your moms before, but I didn't say it after you told us about her making your mask. Mama bears, we mama bears going to take care of our children. Even if our children don't want to listen to us. I'm speaking to my son, if he's listening. It is what it is. We never going to stop loving you. We're going to let you, do you. But we always going to be there to protect and do what we can to make sure you're okay. So salute to Mama Hall for making the mask for her little cubby. Well, he big, but anyway. Okay, now, a grown man with his own, right? So, Chan, with that being said, why don't we get into something a little more before we break bread? Let's break bread on this, because what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go into another song, family. Let me just also let you all know who you're listening to. You're listening to Women of God and Sisters of Testimonies. I am your host, Miss Tonya, also known as Miss Right Now, that grown woman doing grown things, sprinkled with a little bit of experience that has given me the wisdom that I need today with our special feature guest, our returning special feature guest, jazz pianist, Chan Hall. So we done had COVID-19 come and shake things up. Performances, we didn't speak about this, but your performances has been canceled. I recall, I said I was going to try to come up at one of your gigs on my way to my Nita situation north, and that didn't happen because we were hit with COVID-19. And then let's speak about what we are going through as a people in the midst of the reoccurrency, if you don't mind, on how you feel as a black man in these United States of America, and having a young king, Prince, looking and seeing, and he's part of history as well, and what we are now going through with the protesting and the rioting. We do not I'm not with the rioting nor the looting. That is like hijacking the cause. But give us your perspective on how you feel and what you need to say to our people that are literally going through and they may not know how to handle because they themselves either been through it personally or has been affected by it by knowing someone or us just being the people that we are. We have been blessed to be birthed into the skin. Let them know, Chan.
All right, let me see here. So the first part of the question was about COVID-19, right? The effects from it, from gigging and entertainment and all that stuff, right? Okay,
yes.
Let me start there. Okay, so yes, COVID-19 has any entertainer could tell you right now, it killed the whole market for pretty much everyone. A lot of friends I see online and stars and stuff, they're all waiting to see what normalcy could be. They don't know what normalcy could be, and we can't have no more than 50, 100 people down. So you're looking at people that had lined up there. The way a performer, the way it operates for most entertainers, musicians is you have to book your shows well in advance. Like, you start out, you might have, let's just make an example. You might have 12 shows from December going, let's just say we're going to rewind back to December 2019, looking forward into 2020. And because this is kind of similar to where I was, it's going to be kind of mirroring my situation. Let's just say you have 10 gigs or whatever throughout the course of the year. And later, after those 10, you got those 10 gigs out the year, you may have some add-in gigs. So you might add another 8 to that 10. You got 18 spread out. Then you might get another. So it's building. So by December of 2019 what you're looking like for 2020. And you're doing this based upon, hey, it's a perfect world. I'm going to be gigging here. You're putting your dates out, kind of letting people know where you're going to be so they can come out and, support, come out and listen to you, check you out. And then you have something like COVID-19 come in and snatch all of it away from you. You're just like, whoa, I got to cancel gigs. Nobody's coming. Now we're looking at, can we do next year? And because this virus is novel, we don't know nothing about it. It's like it's a big question mark for everybody. It's an ambiguous situation where it's like, what does normalcy? When does that return? And then you have to look at the effects of when we return. Will people come out? Will that mental factor in their conscience feel like I'm safe enough to go to a concert? Because the virus being so deadly and lethal, you don't know if it's going to be a second wave, third wave. This is a reoccurring now, like the actual flu. So now it puts a strain on people that book gigs, they're like booking agents and touring managers. They have to go back and look at situations like, what do we do from here? What do we do from now? Some people are solely full-time musicians. They're not making any income. So it's like, well, I got to do something. I don't know what to do, because this is my job. Man, right now I can't do my job at all, And, we're not deemed essential, so it's not like people got to come to a show or anything like that. So it's creative ways that people have been trying to do, but it's less effective. They're trying to, some people are doing, the cash apps online where you can do an online live show, live stream of the show, and that gives people something to create to watch online. And, a lot of people just trying different things right now. And it's like a good and a bad thing. The good thing is now people are really going to have to use creativity in different ways to figure out how to get people to get your stuff out. And in some sense, it's kind of shaking up tradition, how things always flow and it's expected. So now this is an unexpected time, so you're going to do some unexpected things to get back out there. So in some sense, if you look at it, it can be exciting because it's like, well, hey, this might be a positive. I might be able to go and do some other things that I didn't have the liberty to recap on. And then, of course, the bad is you just don't have your normal, that sense of security down that you're locking in stuff down the line that people can just show up for. So it's definitely a strain. It's a strain on me in those particular ways. I was looking, as I do this radio campaign, to gig alongside of that to gain the attraction that way and have people to come out to those particular shows that I've been, now that the single is out there, I'm starting to see a surge of people who are now finding out about the music. And I'm sure the next question would have been, if COVID-19 wasn't here, is where are you going to be, performing so that they can come out and see it live. But with that taken off the books, gigging is fun. And I have to look at my other counterparts in my band, and I don't have work for them. So it's just like, everybody's just kind of talking. Like when we, the main thing is like, no matter what, we know that we're going to get through this. So that's number one. We're gonna get through this. Just gotta have some faith and take our time with the situation slowly and build up our situation as we go through. So it's definitely it's sad. I was ready to kind of get out there just to kind of gig, and it's always great to perform in front of people. But I get it and I understand. So I'm just being humble. While I wait, I'm just doing other things to continue out, like my campaign of radio that I'm stretching out in the United States and beyond elsewhere, so that people, once again, can still get the word out and that people still will get to know who Chan Hall is. And that's that portion. Then I'm going to move on now to the second part of the question about I guess like being like a black man in America is kind of how I felt that you kind of wanted me to portray.
Yes,
is that correct?
Because we need to,
okay.
we have to touch on that, because for me as a sister, well, I have two brothers. As a mother of a 23-year-old. As a community activist, where I've been already in the trenches prior to this today, I did my best on trying to raise my son to be comfortable in his skin. And I had to remind him on the exercise I did with him, where he may not understood at the moment, but he can look, okay, yeah, you did do that. We as women, as a black woman, have to be more sensitive to our men and our brothers, to let them know that we are here for you. And I have to admit that as a black woman, I know how you all have been stripped of things because others find you intimidating. You can be like your height, they say I'm intimidated. You can be 4'11", as long as you're a man of color. They claim intimidation is the first thing that they fear of life, and you just going along being you, doing your day. So with all that what has just transpired in the last 2-3 weeks, opposed to not just George Floyd, but countless others in the recent of even just 2020 alone, how do you feel as a black man being an essential worker? Because they don't care. Two, because they don't know who you are. All they see is caramel, chocolate, light-skinned brother, mixers, and he's just a black man. But you ain't know I had a little Puerto Rican in me, did you? Or had a little Haitian in you, did you? No, they just see you as black. So go ahead and speak on. And then I'm going to hush up. So go ahead, Shannon.
Okay, so yeah, man. Being a brother, a black man in America, it is hard. I don't. Some people, they don't like to tell the real stories of it, and maybe some people don't go through it. I can't speak for every person now. I can only speak for myself. So just know that this is my opinion about it, my perspective. You know what I'm saying? So I want to rather than ruffle feathers per se, but as a black man, yeah, we got it real hard. in order for us to really make it and survive, we got to work 10 times as hard. And it's very exhausting to have to do that at all times. I mean, it even goes back from slavery times. I think about Jackie Robinson, because I've read the book of Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson, you know, playing baseball, kind of the only kind of, you know, Negro at that time amongst all the whites. That man had to work 10 times harder than everybody else. They wasn't giving him nothing. That was no privileges. They gave him nothing. He had to earn everything. And because they pushed him so hard, it was just like a diamond under pressure. And he basically became the top and the best of the league. They probably couldn't understand why. But it's the repercussions that came back on them of what they did. So it's one of those situations where we have to, you know, we gotta. I can see sometimes mentally where brothers are like, they fall to the wayside, and maybe they go and do the most unethical things because it hasn't been fair to us, you know, and we are intimidating. I know when I go, I've had certain jobs. I've walked in the job. First of all, I'm 6'4", or 6'3", 265, 265, 275. I look like a football player. In the first season, they're thinking like, yo, you linebacker for Redskins or somebody, you know what I'm saying? But they look at my physique and they're like, he's black. So they automatically assume they get this intimidation factor when I come in there. Because it's like, oh, this is giant. Mm-hmm. And we know their character can be aggressive and the demeanor can be, you know, as what they could portray, a thug or a menace or whatever. So, yeah, they can really pass judgment on you. And with that going in, there's no telling what they think about behind closed-door situations or bar situations. But I can't tell you that we don't get that, you know. I'm not saying that they get a green pass all the time, but some of them do. You know, they get treated very well. We don't get treated well in our community. I mean, and it even stems to for black and brown guys that the skin color and within our own community can even be more interracial, even deeper in our own community. The darker you are, you might get worse than the lighter. And that's a major issue as well. So you're not only battling against all these other, you know, the whites and stuff, you got to battle within your own race, the racism, which is another situation that we don't talk about too, because it's like, wow, I have back in the day, I've had to catch what I've said, like things on a basketball court. It was small talk to me, but one of my New Yorker buddies from Long Island was like, he said something to me, and I had to catch myself and think about what he said. And it was like, yo, that's deep on the real, and I had to watch what I say, because the way I was saying it, I was like, yo, I got the black boy. So he said this to me, he said, aren't you not black?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
mm-hmm.
You make a point. You know, it's those little things that we do that we don't even think about and realize. And to some degree, I'm not, you know, making excuses for white people, but maybe there's some things that's what they're doing, and they don't realize it. And I think what's happening with George Floyd is they're starting to realize, like, maybe there is some issues with things that we do and say. And, you know, I have great talks with a lot of people. Why they burn down their own buildings and et cetera. And I simply say, well, they burn out. Look at the degree where we have to do. Okay, so they protested, you know, about opening the government up, right? They would, I'm trying to have my liberty. I don't want to wear my mask and this and that. And the government,
with the guns, they went with the guns. With the guns. Mm-hmm. And guess what happened to the government? They started opening the government up, right? So it's like a peaceful protest, but they got what they wanted, and it didn't take very long. Look at what we had to do just so they could listen. Not adhere to our demands,
just to listen. It took for us to burn buildings down, rioting in every city, being on the news every day, and they still haven't really addressed the issue. They're just starting to awaken to it. But look at the extent that we have to do and go just to be heard. Those little things you should be paying attention to. Like, I got to show my behind just so I got to get killed for you to believe my story. But now I'm not even alive for me to even talk about the story. You know what I mean? So it's crazy, man. You know, as a black man, it's very hard, and it stems back from slavery. We're mistreated a lot, and it's because that we really have true strength within us. So they figure to get us off course, so we don't advance. It's just truth be told. They get us off course, and next thing you know, we don't really. Some of us fall astray, and it's up to us within our own community to build our brothers up and try to push them along the way to do better. Because some of my brothers, they need to do better, man. I get what they're doing. I come from, poverty, inner city type environment, and it's, I understand that. I understand. I ain't saying it's right what they're doing, but sometimes you just understand. Like, I understand this is your way of surviving, and the world don't really care. I understand it, but at the same time, some changes can be made and need to be made. We in 2020, we need to do better. We got to do better. While we have this momentum, I say jump on it and push it further along so that the next generation, I got a little son, so I had to have the conversation with him at a faster time frame than I would have liked. And I really didn't have much to say because there's nothing I can do, and as far as protecting him of racism, I can't really, it's in God's hands. And then by the time he gets older, racism could have shifted to something different. So all I can tell him is, son, love everybody that you can love, and that's everybody, blue, green, yellow, whoever. Any kind of race, culture, don't judge them, love them. If they disrespect you, then yes, you can disrespect them. But outside of that, disrespect is coming in all forms. So it doesn't, there's no particular race, shape on disrespect. Everybody should respect you. But as far as everybody conditioning when you meet them, love them. Like, you should do that. That's what we're supposed to do. We shouldn't have to look at an Indian person and say, oh, man, they look like they stink. Or I ain't going to fool around with them because every time I talk on the telephone, they can't barely speak English. Or, you know what I'm saying? We should always embrace the love against every particular race, because you saying it about another race, what you think they're saying about you, They have a stigma that's on your life that automatically you're going to be, labeled something. And every race should embrace love on one another unconditionally, not knowing them,
I 100% agree with you. And that's just the type of person that I am. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I think I may mention this to you as well. So I'm a 70 baby. So I done seen a lot. And they used to the Bronx is labeled as the Fort Apache, burn down buildings and all this other stuff. But again, wherever you were raised, that was your community. And we had a village back then. So much of that we don't have that village. And I am praying and hoping that village wake up, because our younger people are not listening. It's like they're not, I don't know if it's in the water. I don't know. It's not Similac. I think it's in the water, something. But it's okay to be angry. As a grown woman, I've been called the angry black woman. I could take that. I could take it because I'm passionate about what I believe in. So whichever way whenever you get me and however you hear me speaking, it's because you done did something you had no business doing. You done said something out of your mouth you shouldn't have said. But, and then I'll just say what I have to say. But we have to start loving on ourselves and each other. And again, like you said, we have the same conditions of others treating us in our own. So we have to make sure we clean up our house first or in the midst of what we're going through, make sure we start uprooting the roots that's causing the division within our beings, whether it be family, friends, or whomever. And I'm constantly saying this, Chad, is because Chan, I'm about to put a D on your name, Chan, is because, I live it. I've experienced it. Some people, you just have to leave them where you left them so that you can continue to grow. Love them from a distance, but we all are still a part of one another, as being the teachers, and I say that all the time, and being the student, So do your part, even if it's just volunteering. The schools are out now because of the COVID-19, as you know, because you're young prince, and having to make this adjustment. And who knows if come fall, this is going to be a continuation to what was started back in February or March. So as a village, I'm hoping, Chan, that people start talking. I know we live in a time where people have been so selfish, and you have to watch who you allow your kids around. But find out who are the teachers in your community. Find out who are the principals so you can get the information like you stated earlier. We don't talk to each other to help each other. We keep it for ourselves. I tell you, in my journey, I know the white counterparts, they tell each other. That's why I'm open. I'll tell you whatever I find is I'm telling you, because we don't share enough.
Yep, absolutely.
So you, Satan, what you have blessed us with in this hour, I am so praying and hoping that somebody hears it that triggers them to love like this. Get back to your passion. Pray about it. I always say this: pray, plan, and execute. I am a woman of faith. I don't take no religion. I'm not about the labels. Strictly a communication and relationship with God. But whoever you decide to worship, so be it. But know that there's still one God, and that's who we need to go to first for our source, and then he will provide the resources. Because at this time, we're all vulnerable, and we have to be mindful on who we connect to and who we allow to connect to us. Because everybody may be smiling, but they're not smiling with you. They send on assignment. Hoo-hoo. Okay, so. Okay, back to you. Now, tell us, because time is winding down. That went by so fast. Tell us what we need to know, because we're going to have to close out, and I'm not going to tell you what song I'm closing out on. You're just going to be surprised if you listen back to it. What would you say to our listeners, our family, on how to move forward as we are in the midst of this, as we titled, Love Like This, as our yesterdays or our todays? Tell them how they can pick up the new single and how they can contact you for more interviews. And as you all know, he's on a radio promotion, so book him, contact his manager, okay? Go ahead, Chance, and then Chance. Oh, now I'm calling you Chance the rapper.
Oh, man, that's funny.
I'm so silly.
Man.
So,
Love Like This. So that you guys can search that pretty much iTunes. You search it on Amazon. It's on Amazon, iTunes. If you wanted to stream it, you can stream it from Spotify. You can stream it from YouTube. Still waiting on feedback from Pandora as of right now. And, you can pretty much, you can Google it. You can get it from my website, which is www.chanhalljazz.com. And I would just challenge everybody, man, to just Google search Chan Hall Jazz. Just Google it and see what you find. Or go to the website, read about me. And if you wanted to book me for any radio interviews or, anything, shows, I'm open to anything. You can contact my manager, Tyron Sr. You can reach out on my website, And my website has my bookings on there where you can contact or call my manager, Tyron Senior, which is T Senior Management. And let me see it. Her email is tseniormanagement@gmail.com, so you can email her as well. And, you know, I'll be gladly to do any radio interviews, you know, radio, you know, I'm up for anything just to promote this particular single, and I'm trying to push it as hard as I can. You know, this is my, as you said before, lady Tonya E, that this is my, I'm a baby in the game, so this is like my introduction to the game. So I really want to put my best foot forward of pushing this out as much as I can. So please go to those avenues. You can, like I said, you can Google search Chan Hall. You can find it on YouTube. You can go Chan Hall Jazz on YouTube and find a lot of the videos or interviews that I've done. I've done some inspirational videos on there as well, which my son, by the way, loves to watch. He always calls me out and say, "Dad, you're on another one." But I just say take the liberty to research who I am and you know, listen to my music and get yourself familiar. Get yourself familiar with what I'm doing.
And with that, family, we thank you so much for tuning in. As your host, Miss Tonya E, aka Miss Right Now, that grown into grown things, has to say this fast, with a sprinkle of experience that leads to the wisdom, with our special feature guest, our returning special feature guest, jazz pianist Chan Hall. And again, family, we love you all. We thank you. We want to see each one of you all, you know, just grow. We have to continue growing. God is not done with us yet, but we have to move on out of here right now. And on the closeout, I'm going to tell you what we're playing, Chan. We're going to close out with The Way You Are, featuring Tonya Plumman. We like that song, too. Oh. And don't forget, family, go onto the website, Chan's website, so you can buy his first 3 projects, so you can get familiar with him as well and do your driving and listening to his smooth jazz. Chan, I thank you so much once again for breaking bread with us, granting us your time, delivering the seeds, and I truly believe each word spoken has been placed where it needs to be placed, and one will grow on. And as always, you know you're welcome to come back here at any time. So, with all that being said, Chan, we're closing out. Talk to you again, Chan. God bless, family.
Later.
Welcome to the Financial Quarterback Podcast. I'm Josh Jelinski, and every week I'm diving into the world of retirement investing and financial planning. From understanding market moves to protecting your future, we cover it all. I bring on expert guests and have a little fun with games and real-world insights. With nearly 2 decades of experience and a Forbes-recognized track record, I'm here to guide you through the biggest questions about your money. Subscribe to the Financial Quarterback Podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You have to celebrate your wins. We've won the Mint 400, and I celebrated that win for weeks. But then we had to focus and move on.
Dustin Jones, championship-winning Can-Am off-road racer.
Can-Am's the same. The most race wins in all types of terrain with the Maverick X3, but then they focus and move on. The Maverick R, 240 horsepower and the first 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. This thing's a game changer. We celebrate those wins, but never for too long.
The Can-Am, Maverick X3, and Maverick R. Visit CanAmOffroad.com.